Welcome to my channel. What if I told you that the biggest reason most English learners struggle at work has nothing to do with grammar, vocabulary, or accent? What if the real problem is a simple mistake that millions of professionals make every day without even realizing it? Stay with me until the end of this lesson, because the final tip may completely change the way you communicate at work, and it could help you become more confident, more professional, and more successful in your career. Today, we are going to talk about a topic that can make a huge difference in your professional life: how to speak better English at work. Many English learners can communicate comfortably in casual situations. They can talk with friends, discuss daily activities, and understand simple conversations. But the moment they enter a workplace environment, everything changes. Meetings suddenly feel stressful. Presentations feel intimidating. Conversations with managers become uncomfortable. Even simple workplace discussions can create anxiety and self-doubt. Why does this happen? Because workplace English requires a different set of communication skills. It requires clarity, confidence, professionalism, and the ability to express ideas effectively. The good news is that you do not need perfect English to succeed at work. You do not need a perfect accent. You do not need advanced grammar. You do not need thousands of difficult words. What you need is the ability to communicate clearly and confidently. That is exactly what this lesson will help you achieve. As you listen, pay attention to the vocabulary, sentence structures, and communication patterns. Every minute of listening is also English practice. The more you listen, the stronger your English becomes. Let us begin with one of the most important workplace communication skills. Speak clearly, not quickly. One of the biggest mistakes English learners make is trying to speak too fast. Many learners believe that fast English sounds fluent, so they rush their words, rush their sentences, and rush their thoughts. Unfortunately, the result is often the opposite of what they want. People struggle to understand them. Mistakes increase. Confidence decreases. The truth is that professional communication is not about speed. It is about clarity. Think about the best speakers you have ever heard. Most of them do not speak extremely fast. They speak clearly. They pronounce words carefully. They pause when necessary. They make it easy for people to understand their message. That is what professional communication looks like. Imagine that you are participating in a meeting and you have an important idea to share. You could rush because you feel nervous, or you could slow down slightly and focus on delivering your message clearly. The second option is almost always more effective. In workplace communication, understanding is more important than speed. Many native speakers intentionally slow down during important conversations because they want their message to be understood. This is something every English learner should remember. Your goal is communication, not speed. Think about a manager giving instructions to a team. If the manager speaks so quickly that nobody understands, the communication fails. If the manager speaks clearly and everyone understands, the communication succeeds. The same principle applies to you. One useful technique is to reduce your speaking speed by about 10%. You do not need to speak dramatically slower. Just slow down enough to think clearly, pronounce words accurately, and allow listeners to follow your ideas. This small adjustment can create a huge improvement in communication. Another powerful habit is learning to use pauses. Many learners are afraid of pauses because they think pauses make them sound uncertain. In reality, pauses often make speakers sound more confident and professional. A short pause gives you time to think. It helps organize your ideas. It makes your speech easier to follow. Professional speakers use pauses all the time because pauses create clarity and control. For example, you might say, "I reviewed the project yesterday, and I think we should make a few changes." That brief pause helps the listener process your message and gives you a moment to organize your next thought. Another reason learners speak too quickly is fear. They worry that people will notice their mistakes, so they try to finish speaking as quickly as possible. Ironically, Rushing usually creates even more mistakes. When you slow down, you gain control. You choose better words. You pronounce more accurately. You communicate more effectively. Remember that workplace English is different from casual conversation. At work, people care much more about understanding your ideas than listening to fast speech. Clear communication builds trust. Clear communication builds credibility. Clear communication builds confidence. If you want to sound more professional, focus on being understood, not on sounding fast. Because in the workplace, the people who communicate clearly are often the people who are respected, trusted, and remembered. One of the fastest ways to improve your English at work is to learn the phrases that professionals actually use every day. Many learners spend years studying grammar rules and memorizing vocabulary lists, yet they still feel nervous when they participate in workplace conversations. The reason is simple. Knowing individual words is not the same as knowing how real communication works. In professional environments, people rely on common phrases and expressions that make conversations smoother, clearer, and more efficient. Think about how often people say things like, "Let's discuss this. I'll look into it. Can you clarify that? I agree with your point. I'll get back to you." Or, "Let's move forward." These expressions are not difficult, but they are extremely useful. The more familiar you become with workplace phrases, the easier professional conversations will feel. Imagine that you are sitting in a meeting, and a colleague asks for your opinion. If you already know a few professional expressions, responding becomes much easier. You can say, "In my opinion, we should focus on this solution. I think this approach could work. That's an interesting point." Or, "I agree with your suggestion." These phrases help you sound confident and professional without requiring advanced English. Another benefit of learning phrases is that they reduce the amount of thinking required during conversations. Instead of creating every sentence from the beginning, you can use communication patterns that are already familiar. This makes speaking feel more natural and less stressful. Think about building a house. Creating every brick individually takes a long time. Using ready-made materials makes construction faster and easier. Workplace phrases work the same way. They give you ready-made language that you can use immediately. One excellent habit is keeping a notebook of useful workplace expressions. Whenever you hear a phrase during a meeting, a video, a podcast, or a conversation, write it down, practice it, repeat it, use it whenever possible. The goal is not to memorize hundreds of phrases. The goal is to master useful phrases that appear regularly in professional situations. Over time, these expressions become a natural part of your English. As they become more familiar, your confidence grows dramatically. Professional communication is not about using complicated words. It is about using the right words at the right time. Another powerful skill that can improve your workplace English is listening carefully before speaking. Many learners believe that becoming a better speaker only requires speaking practice. Speaking is important, but listening is equally important, because communication begins with understanding. Some of the best communicators in the world are excellent listeners. Imagine that you are attending a meeting. Someone is explaining a project. Someone asks a question. Someone shares an idea. If you are not listening carefully, your response may not fit the discussion. This creates confusion and weakens communication. Strong professionals listen first and speak second, because understanding always comes before responding. Listening carefully provides several important benefits. First, it helps you understand the topic completely. Second, it gives you time to organize your thoughts. Third, it exposes you to professional English in real situations. Every meeting becomes an opportunity to learn vocabulary, sentence patterns, and communication techniques. Many learners become so focused on what they plan to say next that they stop paying attention to the current speaker. As a result, they miss valuable information. A better approach is to focus completely on understanding the message before preparing your response. This simple habit can dramatically improve your communication. Listening also helps expand your vocabulary naturally. When you repeatedly hear workplace words and expressions, they become familiar. Eventually, you begin using them yourself. This is one of the most effective ways to learn professional English because you are learning language in context rather than memorizing isolated words. Think about a new employee during their first weeks at a company. They often spend more time listening than speaking. They listen to meetings, observe conversations, and pay attention to communication patterns. Through listening, they learn how professional communication works within that environment. You can use the same strategy. Listen carefully to how people ask questions, give suggestions, express agreement, and disagree politely. These communication patterns can strengthen your own speaking skills. Listening carefully also reduces mistakes. When you fully understand a question, you are more likely to provide an appropriate answer. When you understand the purpose of a discussion, you are more likely to contribute effectively. This creates a stronger professional image and helps build confidence. Many people believe confidence comes from talking frequently. In reality, confidence often comes from understanding clearly. The better you understand a situation, the more confidently you can respond. Great communication begins with great listening. Before trying to become a better speaker, become a better listener. Pay attention to what people say, how they say it, and why they say it. The lessons you learn through listening will improve every aspect of your workplace English and prepare you for more confident, professional communication in every situation. Another essential step toward improving your workplace English is building a professional vocabulary. If you want to communicate effectively at work, general English is not always enough. You need to become familiar with the vocabulary that people actually use in professional environments. This does not mean memorizing complicated words to impress others. It means learning the words that appear regularly in meetings, emails, presentations, reports, and workplace discussions. Every profession has its own language. Doctors use medical terminology. Engineers use technical language. Business professionals frequently discuss projects, deadlines, budgets, goals, priorities, performance, feedback, clients, schedules, and strategies. The more familiar you become with workplace vocabulary, the more comfortable and confident you will feel during professional conversations. Many learners make the mistake of studying random words that they rarely use. They spend hours memorizing difficult vocabulary, but struggle when discussing everyday work situations. A much better strategy is to focus on useful words that are directly connected to your job and daily responsibilities. Learn vocabulary that you hear regularly and are likely to use often. Words such as project, deadline, meeting, schedule, budget, report, client, feedback, performance, priority, solution, strategy, objective, and communication appear repeatedly in professional environments. The more familiar these words become, the easier workplace conversations will feel. Another powerful method is learning vocabulary in phrases rather than as individual words. For example, instead of learning only the word deadline, learn the phrase meet a deadline. Instead of only learning project, learn complete a project. Instead of only learning feedback, learn provide feedback. Instead of only learning meeting, learn attend a meeting. Learning language in phrases helps you speak more naturally because it reflects how English is actually used. When you learn useful combinations of words, listening to professional conversations can help. Watching business-related videos can help. Every exposure to workplace English reinforces your understanding. Remember, the goal is not to have the biggest vocabulary. The goal is to have the most useful vocabulary. Professional vocabulary helps you understand discussions more easily and communicate your ideas more effectively. The right words can create opportunities, improve confidence, and make you sound more professional. Another important habit that can instantly improve your workplace communication is thinking before you speak. Many communication problems occur because people begin talking before organizing their thoughts. They start speaking immediately, jump from one idea to another, and confuse their listeners. Effective communicators approach conversations differently. They pause briefly, organize their thoughts, and then express their ideas clearly. This habit may seem simple, but it can dramatically improve your English at work. Imagine someone asks you a question during a meeting. Many learners feel pressure to answer immediately. Because they are nervous, they begin speaking before they fully know what they want to say. This often leads to unclear explanations and unnecessary mistakes. Instead, give yourself a moment to think. A short pause is completely acceptable in professional communication. In fact, it often makes you appear thoughtful, calm, and confident. Use those few seconds to identify your main point and decide how you want to explain it. Once your ideas are organized, begin speaking. This small adjustment can significantly improve the quality of your communication. Thinking before speaking also reduces mistakes because it allows you to choose words more carefully and build clearer sentences. This is especially important in professional environments where accuracy matters. Think about a manager giving instructions to a team. If the instructions are unclear, misunderstandings occur, productivity decreases, and mistakes become more likely. Clear communication prevents these problems. The same principle applies to every workplace conversation. Professional communication is not about speaking the most. It is about communicating effectively. Another benefit of thinking before speaking is that it helps you sound more confident. Many people assume confident speakers always know exactly what to say. In reality, many confident speakers simply take a moment to organize their thoughts before responding. They remain calm, avoid rushing, and communicate with purpose. You can develop the same habit. A useful strategy is structuring your response. Begin with your main idea, provide supporting details, and then summarize if necessary. This simple structure makes your message easier to understand and easier to remember. People appreciate clear communication because it saves time and reduces confusion. Think about the best presentations you have seen. They are usually organized, logical, and easy to follow. The same principle applies to everyday workplace conversations. Organized thinking leads to organized speaking. Many learners focus heavily on grammar and vocabulary, and those skills are certainly important. However, even someone with excellent grammar can communicate poorly if their ideas are disorganized. On the other hand, a person with simple English can communicate very effectively if their ideas are clear and logical. Communication is not only about language. It is also about structure. The clearer your thinking becomes, the clearer your speaking will become. Instead of speaking simply to fill silence, speak with the intention of delivering value. Think first, organize your thoughts, and then communicate them clearly, because professional communication begins with professional thinking. One of the biggest mistakes English learners make is practicing English that they rarely use in real life. They memorize random vocabulary, study topics that never appear in their daily routine, and spend time learning sentences that do not match workplace situations. Then, when they face a real conversation with a manager, colleague, client, or customer, they struggle to respond. The reason is simple. They have not practiced the situations they actually encounter. If you want to speak better English at work, you must practice workplace English regularly. Think about an athlete preparing for an important competition. Athletes do not train by practicing unrelated activities. They focus on the exact skills they need to perform successfully. The same principle applies to English. Practice the conversations you are most likely to have at work. Imagine your manager asks, "Can you give me an update on this project?" Would you know how to respond confidently? Imagine a colleague says, Can you help me with this task? Would you feel comfortable answering? Imagine a client asks you to explain a problem or provide information. Would you have the language necessary to communicate effectively? These are the situations you should practice every day. One of the most effective techniques is role-playing. Pretend you are attending a meeting. Pretend you are speaking with your manager. Pretend you are discussing a project with a colleague. Create simple workplace scenarios and practice responding aloud. At first, this may feel unusual, but every practice session strengthens your confidence and prepares you for real conversations. You can also practice common workplace topics such as your responsibilities, projects, schedule, goals, achievements, and challenges. The more familiar these topics become, the easier real conversations will feel. Another valuable technique is recording yourself. Choose a workplace situation and speak about it for 1 or 2 minutes. Then listen carefully to the recording. Notice what you do well and identify areas that need improvement. This simple exercise can significantly improve your speaking ability over time. The key is repetition. The more often you practice workplace conversations, the more natural they become. When a real conversation occurs, it will feel familiar rather than intimidating. Your vocabulary will come more easily, your confidence will increase, and your communication will become stronger. Successful learners prepare before they need the skill. That preparation creates confidence long before the conversation begins. Another important workplace communication skill is asking questions with confidence. Many English learners hesitate to ask questions because they fear making mistakes, sounding foolish, or being judged by others. As a result, they remain silent even when they need clarification. This can create misunderstandings and unnecessary problems. In professional environments, asking questions is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of professionalism. Strong professionals ask questions because they value understanding, accuracy, and clarity. Imagine receiving instructions for an important task that you do not completely understand. You have 2 choices. You can remain silent and make assumptions, or you can ask a question. In most situations, asking the question is the smarter choice. A simple question can prevent costly mistakes, save valuable time, and improve results. You do not need perfect English to ask effective questions. Simple expressions are often enough. You can say, "Could you explain that again, please? Can you give me an example? What do you mean by that?" Or, "Could you clarify this point?" These questions are simple, professional, and extremely useful. Asking questions also helps improve your English because every question creates a learning opportunity. You hear new vocabulary, sentence structures, and professional expressions. The most successful learners are often the most curious learners. They ask questions, seek understanding, and actively participate in conversations. Curiosity is a powerful advantage. Questions also demonstrate engagement. When you ask thoughtful questions, people recognize that you are paying attention and genuinely interested in the discussion. This creates a positive professional impression. Remember that nobody knows everything. Even experienced professionals ask questions. Even managers ask questions. Even experts continue learning. The goal is not to know everything. The goal is to keep improving. Finally, remember one of the most powerful lessons in language learning and professional development. Improve a little every day. Many learners become frustrated because they focus only on big results. They want perfect pronunciation immediately. They want complete fluency quickly. They want confidence overnight. When these results do not appear immediately, they become discouraged. The truth is that fluency is built through small, consistent improvements. Every new word you learn is progress. Every conversation you have is progress. Every mistake you learn from is progress. Small improvements may seem insignificant in the moment, but they accumulate over time. Think about a staircase. You reach the top 1 step at a time. English works exactly the same way. Focus on improving slightly each day rather than becoming perfect instantly. Learn one new phrase, practice one conversation, listen to one lesson, or improve one skill. Consistent effort creates remarkable results. Remember that every confident English speaker was once a beginner. Every professional communicator once felt nervous. The difference is that they continued learning, continued practicing, and continued improving. Do not fear mistakes. Do not become discouraged by slow progress. Focus on becoming a little better than yesterday. Success in English is not about perfection. It is about persistence. Keep listening, keep speaking, keep learning, and keep moving forward. Your confidence can grow, your communication skills can improve, and your workplace English can become a powerful tool that opens new opportunities throughout your career and your life.